Hello, and welcome back to the Astreva TA Circle Masterclass program. Today's episode, leveraging data and analytics to improve the hiring process. With everything going digital, how can we not talk about the game changer that is data, right? I'm Alexander, and I will be guiding today's panel. Joining us, we have Casey Freeman, who is the Director of Talent Management at WalkMe, and Nisha Egde, Talent Acquisition Manager at Mott McDonald. Thank you so much to both of you for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Well, I would love to get into the question, but as always, would you like to share a fun fact about yourself so that our audience can learn more about you today?
I can start. A fun fact: I am an avid gamer, so lots of video games in my off time when I'm not thinking about talent acquisition and data. And I have two Irish setters, and we are currently learning competitive agility together. So lots of running.
Nisha?
That's great to know, Casey. So, fun fact about me is that it's just a couple of years ago, I realized that I love going trekking. So, my first trek, was a mountain trek. Though I was afraid, but I think that's where I started, this love towards going to mountains. I was fearful, but I enjoy it now.
Yeah, fun fact. Fun fact. Uh, let's go ahead and jump into our topic. We're talking about the power of data and analytics in recruitment today. My first question to both of you that I've read a couple of times: how do we strike a balance between data driven insights and maintaining ethical standards? Casey, feel free to answer first.
Sure. Maintaining ethical standards in recruiting and in all things is, I think, a top priority on everyone in talent acquisition's mind. One thing to keep into consideration is that data is naturally unbiased. It's just data. So, how we collect that, how we analyze it, how we tell stories about it, this is where the bias can creep in. So, we're human and naturally have certain inclinations and biases that we have to constantly look out for to ensure that we're listening to the data and letting it guide us rather than forcing the data into a story we've already started telling.
Great. Would you like to add something, Nisha, about it?
Yes, yes. I think while gathering data is very important, how do you ensure that it is maintained and secured well is crucial. I think what is important, in my opinion, is that whenever the data is being collected, a proper consent has been obtained from the individuals from whom the data is being gathered. Being transparent enough to the individuals whose data has been collected, what is the purpose of collecting that data, what is going to be the ultimate use of it, and as and when necessary, anonymizing or de-identifying the personal information is crucial, wherever and whenever these data points are being used. So having a well established governance structure in place is very crucial when dealing with personal and sensitive data.
Yeah, definitely, definitely, definitely. Now, talking about ethical standards, how can HR practitioners ensure that they are drawing the right conclusions from the data without introducing their own biases? Nisha, you want to start first?
Yeah. Again, when you're dealing with a lot of data, uh, unintentionally there could be bias, which might get spread across. I think it is crucial for HR practitioners to be aware of the various kind of cognitive biases, perhaps, the confirmation bias that might come into picture when you're dealing with a lot of data. So it becomes of paramount importance, I think, for the HR practitioners to analyze the data based on the available evidences, right? Also to even revalidate and validate these evidences through various sources, by conducting or commissioning very frequent and short evidence reviews of those evidences. Also, I believe it is important to ask for the diverse perspectives, from various people around, so that there is no unintentional bias, that might overcome the facts and figures.
Definitely. Casey, something to
Yeah,
add?
I totally agree with everything that Nisha said. A couple of practical things that my team does is blind screening, and so this is a technique where we remove any identifying information such as name, gender, ethnicity, age, or address from resumes and job applications. It helps mitigate that unconscious bias that can arise from seeing those personal characteristics. Um, Also, let's think about using LinkedIn. The photo is right there up at the top. And so you can get software that can scrub this data for you that removes that possibility of bias based on that photo that you see. And this allows you to just form your opinion on what the candidate has written instead of maybe a bias. One more practice that we use is a growth mindset. One of our values at WalkMe is to embrace curiosity. And for this, it means asking questions and delving into things a little more deeply than usual. How do we explore topics in detail and ensure we're approaching things the right way? Should we adjust our strategy based on that data? And are we even open to the change? The more we can focus on growing and learning rather than on being right, the more often we'll be right.
Yeah, definitely. Nisha, is those practices? What do you feel about those practices that Casey just mentioned?
I think yes, I completely echo the practices that Casey touched upon. I think there is a lot of information that we gather through, throughout the application process of the candidate. So I think it becomes of very much paramount importance that these gets validated and you ensure that the information that you're using and gathering through this various stages of the application process of the candidate is being collected at the right stage and used in the right form and format.
Definitely, definitely. Moving forward with the dynamic nature of the business world, how can HR departments ensure that their data-driven recruitment strategies remain agile and adaptable? Casey.
Yeah, I think it can be really, really easy for talent acquisition to just rely on cost to hire, time to fill, offer acceptance as your main or only points of data. And yes, we all measure those things, but it's making sure we remain agile and looking at the data in as many different ways as we can. What is the engagement of those new hires? How long did it take them to ramp from new hire to full production? Are our hires this year more productive than in previous years? And like, what about revenue per head count? Are we making positive trends that way? One more thing that I do is to regularly review the return on investment for our sources. I look to make sure that the hires are quantitative. Yes, they're hitting their targets, but qualitative. Are our managers and our business partners happy with that source of hire that we were able to find? This validates that our current strategy is working and helps us see our operations from all sides so we can change and shift sources as we need and adjust.
Great. Nisha, what do you think?
Again, completely echoing Casey. Additionally, I think using the data metrics and the data that has been gathered, to understand the talent landscape, where is your talent inclined towards, making the decisions on the location concentration of the talent, understanding the salary trends that we see in the market through this data collection, comparing your salary trends as against the market, understanding the attrition trends of your competition, understanding the notice period trends of the candidates in the market. I think the data, if and the matrices, if been used in the right manner, I think it could help talent acquisitions to go in the right direction across the vast landscape of talent that we are always behind. But I think at the same time it is also important to keep reviewing the data points that you're gathering and the matrices that you're creating, whether the source of the information is correct, whether the results that I'm drawing through this data points, is it leading to the right direction, or do I need to change the source or the way the pattern I'm collecting this data? I think throughout the time it is important that we keep checking the impact of the reports or the data metrics that we are deriving out of these whole data collection exercises. Not just the decision making from the business side or strategic decision making that you would draw through these data points. I think it is important also to use these data points to personalize the candidate experience, the branding impact, the personal candidate experience that we are offering to the candidates throughout the candidate application process. I think all these data points to be utilized, one from the business side of it, and second from the candidate experience point of view as well.
What do you think about it, Casey?
Yeah, I think the candidate experience is one of the most crucial things that you can have. So measuring across that, how long does it take them once they, enter the pipeline till we give an offer? And I know for my team, one of the greatest compliments is if you don't get the job and you're still a brand ambassador for Walk Me. And so if someone mentions the company, they go, oh, yeah, I wish I would have gotten that offer. It sounds like a really great company. Then we know that our candidate experience is right. So we really think about employee branding, not just to attract them, but also in that networking capability as well. So measuring that candidate experience and finding all the holes, like Nisha mentioned, crucial.
And how do you measure it, Casey?
Yeah, we do a candidate satisfaction survey, regardless, from anyone once you enter our pipeline. So we get a gambit of feedback. We can get people that were ghosted, and then we can go back and say, oh my gosh, we have a hole here. We, if they do one interview, we're maybe sending an email, and that's too impersonal. So looking at how did we respond back to that candidate, and then plugging that hole and kind of fixing it in the moment. And we check it very, very often. So 1 month goes by, we look at it, did we plug that space or not, and looking at where those people are in the world, because people also like to receive communication differently based upon their culture experiences. So we also take this global approach when we're looking at, okay, in the US, maybe a text is totally fine. And in somewhere else, oh my gosh, I want that personal phone call. So moving that way.
Yeah. Oh, what about it, Nisha? Do you implement similar practices or not?
Uh, yes. So if I talk about the matrices, that we draw using the various data points. I think it's every quarter we ensure that we study, the hit ratio, the time to hire, the cost to hire, the quality of hire, the source, that has been the most impactful for us in that quarter, so that we realize whether we invest in the same channel or in the same platform, or if we need to really look into something else. When it comes to candidate experience, again, as Casey said, it's more of the feedback and the surveys that we gather in through biannual surveys, before them joining and post their induction and onboarding, that gets reviewed, and based on the feedback, necessary measures are taken. So it brilliantly helps us to sit with that, we are engaging with the right at the right stage and at the right time.
Right, both of you. Now, taking a step into the future, with the rise of AI everywhere, do you believe that there will ever come a time when data analytics could replace human intuition in the hiring process? Nisha, you first.
Well, my immediate response would be, no. I think while AI provides you with the data, but it will never give you the holistic view of the candidate behind that data, right? While data analytics has shown a very effective parameter over human intuition in making the selections and decisions, however, it is unlikely that data analytics will entirely replace human intuition. Because while data analytics can provide you the insights about the candidate's qualification, their potential, their performance, it cannot ever take into account the behavioral aspect and the personality aspect of the candidate, which I think is equally critical while identifying the right resource for your organization. Right. So I think it has to be a blend of both, so as to ensure that there are no biases, because when it comes to data analytics, it's purely based on the data gathered, which could be incomplete or could be perhaps biased. So remove that element or any scope of bias, human intention would come into picture. So I think it has to be a combination and a blend of both.
Perfect. Casey.
Yeah, so let's
Casey.
say I want to add someone onto my team. So, like every job requisition, I need a list of skills, I need previous experience. Data and AI can assist quite beautifully here, quickly narrowing down the pool and filling the top of that recruitment funnel. But now, like Nisha mentioned, we need some human intuition here. Will this person add to the culture of my team? So notice I said culture add and not culture fit. If I'm hiring, I don't want to find a recruiter that I want to go to lunch with. I want to find the one who has the human skills that are missing from my team. And that's the little bit extra that humans can provide that AI can't quite uh, do yet.
Yeah, we often see recruiters and mainly junior being scared of the rise of AI in recruitment. What would you, if there is one piece of advice you would like to give them, one comment on it for all of them, what would you say, Nisha?
uh, I think I would suggest that we understand how AI operates, adopt to the technologies, and make the best use of it in any process that you're part of.
Casey?
Yeah, I encourage everyone to lean into all of the technology changes in front of us. In prepping for this call, I intentionally went to ChatGPT and was like, all right, what do you think about some of these questions? So I used it a little bit to prepare and then put my own spin on kind of my thoughts here. But technology's here, it's changing, it's in front of us. You don't want to get left behind. So, if you want to increase your chance of finding the right talent for your organization and ultimately achieve your business goals, you can't let technology pass you on by. Give it a chance.
Yeah, definitely. um Final question here. As relying heavily on quantitative data in the hiring process shown significant improvement over qualitative methods, or is there an optimal blend of those to ensure a comprehensive hiring decision? Casey.
Yeah, there are some examples of quantitative data increasing the speed and sourcing at the top of the funnel, which I mentioned previously. And there's an immense competitive advantage to fill that top very, very quickly. At WalkMe, we created the category of digital adoption. And so that means that there's some unique skills and qualifications that we need to have when we're hiring for our engineering and customer success positions. And the pool's small because it's new. So quantitative data allows us to identify that top talent with these skills, focusing also on underrepresented groups in our competitive market and tough talent landscape that we've got right now. It's absolutely the dream. But ultimately, the most effective hiring decisions are made with a combination of the quantitative and the qualitative to ensure comprehensive evaluation of the candidate's ability to match the position and the company's culture. So if we think about like my talent philosophy, it's always to attract top talent that will thrive in WalkMe's environment, demonstrate all the skills and competencies that we need, and live our values. So a combination of quantitative and qualitative definitely needed to ensure that hiring decision is accurate.
Definitely. Nisha, what do you think
Can't
about it?
agree more with Casey. I think it at times it is subjective. So there are decisions, where qualitative information is gonna be making a lot of impact. However, there are areas when it comes to the cost of hire or your turnaround time. It's where your quantitative data is going to play a very crucial role. However, at the end of the day, I think recruitment is not a solo activity. It has to blend, and it has to be a close collaboration with the entire hiring community, be it your candidates, be it your business, be it your directors. So when you present the data to them, it has to be a balanced data which has both the qualitative facts and the quantitative figures and facts attached to it, because it's not just about numbers, but it's also about the kind of feedback, the kind of surveys that you conduct, the kind of, the human element to it, the information around the human element to the whole process that you gather, and make a very comprehensive analysis of it and present it to your business for the right and strong decisions to be taken.
Great. Something to add about it, Casey?
Yeah, I think the human decision that Nisha just mentioned is so crucial. And one of the things that we do in our hiring panels is intentionally look for people that are maybe different backgrounds or different personalities or maybe adjacencies. So, not necessarily working on that team, but perhaps close with that team. And make sure that we get all of these different perspectives in when we're going to select a candidate. You don't want to just have a yes group that just one person says I want to hire him and then everybody else agrees. We want to have different questions, different backgrounds, different perspectives, and a personal practice, or I think a best practice really is if you're going to use this panel, then whoever is the most senior leader speaks last. So no one feels influenced to give an opinion one way or the other. So you can really use this network and use these diverse perspectives to make the best possible hiring decision.
Perfect. Perfect. So before finishing, I would like both of you to share with our community one tips that you would like to share to succeed in talent acquisition in HR in general for any person just starting in the field. Is there one piece of advice that you kept all the way along during your career? Casey.
Yeah, so one piece of advice, always have a growth mindset, always be willing to learn. Go to conferences, watch master classes like this one, read and see what companies are doing well. But what I found more helpful is see if you can find a company that will admit what didn't go well. Because you can learn from others' mistakes and avoid those completely, and then go straight to just the best practices and things that work. So keep learning.
Yeah, I think for me, the advice would be, to the people out there, is to accept the challenges and be open to challenges, because the era that we are getting into is more about frequent changes. It's so volatile. The technology, the AI, it's gonna change the landscape every day. So be open to the challenges the market is getting into, adapt to the challenges, and be ready to, deliver the solutions based on the trends, and be on top of the game.
All right. Thank you all for being here and to our community. Thank you, Casey. Thank you, Nisha, for your intervention today. Thank you for engaging with the Astreva TA Cycle Masterclass program. There is a growing library of content for you to elevate your skill and learn more about great leaders in our website. So make sure you check out the catalog and we'll see you on a future episode. Take care.